No, but I'm happy for him. Year older, 24. Hell of a 24 years. So, but no, I think we have some cupcakes or something downstairs. So 24 is not exactly 21, 18, 30. So just 24.
Not a landmark birthday.
No.
What do you think you possess? Why do you think you were well suited for this role as interim head coach and eventually becoming an NBA head coach?
Man, I think somebody else should answer that if they're going to hire me. But I imagine experience helps. Confidence, comes from experience. And, I've had a lot of it, even as a kid growing up in it, and locker rooms and all those things. But in this situation, probably just the comfortable feeling between me and the players who've known each other for a long time, especially the core guys, and then having a solid relationship with some of the newer guys because that was my job as the assistant coach. So leading them hasn't felt any different. I've said this before, behind closed doors, I've ran a lot of the things in practice with Coach Malone's blessing, pre-games and all those things. So I would say 70% of what I'm doing I already was doing. And the other 30% I'm learning on the fly. So it's you can't learn anything unless you actually go do it. So I'm doing the best I can. I'm trying to learn minute by minute because you have to be humble in this. And things that you try that are new, you have to know when to throw that away. Or, man, that might really work. Let's stick to that. And the players believe in it. So, yeah, I really mean that. Like, that's not for me to say. It's for me to do my job and somebody else to judge.
How did winning those 3 games last week help you and your team heading into the playoffs? Did it maybe sort of put to rest all the chaos or anything like that?
I mean, it got us in the playoffs, first of all, winning the 3 games. But, yeah, I don't know. It's a bunker mentality when things like that happen. Because it's not the NFL. It's not 5 days of me talking to you before we play on Sunday. You're playing tomorrow. And so you have no choice but to move on quickly. You have emotions in the back of your head for these people you cared about and that you were with during all these winning times. I mean, I've known Calvin forever. Coach had the confidence in me all those years ago that I could do this. And in a weird way, you have to kind of put that to the side because what's happening is not going to stop. You can't ask to move the date of the game. So I've said this last week. When this is over, I think I'll have a better emotional understanding of what this has all meant, including the players. But our job right now is to focus in on the challenges we have, and we did a great job last week of doing that.
Is it good to just return to normalcy? Everything about hooping, right? We talk about hooping, go out, practice, just hoop, focusing on the Clippers, and not talking about stuff that doesn't have anything to do with basketball.
It's funny you said that because that's exactly what we said and what I talked about before the Sacramento game. It was, we can talk about coverages and adjustments, don't, take care of the ball, all these things, got a defensive rebound to run, all the coaching cliches, but sometimes in sports, what you just said is true. You just got to go hoop. You got to go play. You got to clear your mind and get back to enjoying what you love doing. And in this league, with all the money and the media and the TV, there is moments where you feel very convoluted in what you're doing. But this is a kid's thing, man. This is basketball. This is fun. And we have to maintain that attitude professionally. But like you said, the fun part of this is to go hoop and play together. And the experiences you've had together and the triumphs you've had with our core guys. So getting back into that headspace, I think, was important. And in a weird way, I think because we played the very next day, I think that helped in a way. Let's just get out and play. Because sometimes that's the best medicine for, feeling anxiety and strife and the things they're going through.
Why led the Raptors to a championship?
Yeah.
He was considered, if not the best, right there in the league. That's been a while. How's he look right now?
Closest thing to that, as far as fluidity. I still thought he was a completely dominant player in the bubble when we beat them, but a different kind of player, more in his spots, a little more rigid, and now he's a little more fluid like he was back then, and it allows him to move his feet better defensively, it allows him to get to his spots quicker offensively. This is a different version of him, we know that. I talked about him yesterday. I mean, he's an all-time player, Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Famer, regardless of the games he's missed and the injuries he's been through. I think we all remember what it was in San Antonio and how shocked we were of how good this guy was and the steps he took with them. And then obviously the very next step in Toronto where it really took off and they made that run. So it's going to be a challenge having both guys out there on the floor. you have to be responsible to the adjustments because they're going to be somewhere a lot. And Kawhi, like this fluid, we have to understand we have to get to spots quicker. This is not the guy we played in Orlando all those years ago.
When you have a team that's so good in the half court, really on both ends, how important is it for you guys to really have a high transition game going to loosen things up kind of on either end?
Yeah, I mean, we won the championship. It was incredible that we took our fast break numbers in the regular season into the playoffs, which is really challenging because the games really slow down. But I do think there's a commitment to running, and sometimes the statistics don't show how hard you're running offensively to push the pace a little bit. And if they're going to play a center like Zubats and some guys that play at a slow pace, you have to push them because their defense is great in the half court. And also, you have to be extremely active defensively because you got to find some easy points. And that's what they do really well in slow-paced games is they have those really active defenders. And you know what it's like, low possession games. If you can find a few layups here and there, or back in the day with Jeff and Bruce, a dunk here or there, CB does a great job of that. It goes a long way because the allotment of points is a lot different and the game's a lot tighter. So you're exactly right. Our commitment to running will be a big deal. And we're going to need a lot of help off our bench because doing that for the 5 guys that start, they can't do that for 42 minutes. They can do it, try to get them in the 30s. I don't know if that's going to happen, but you have to commit to the running, like you said, to make things easier on yourself.
A few games back, you had mentioned that it was a deliberate strategic choice to have the ball flow through Jokic a little bit less, just slightly less.
Yeah.
How much of that do you think frees him up to use more energy on the defensive end, and is that part of the thinking with that move?
It is, and it's also, I don't think it's possible to win what we want to win with him just going 1-on-3, 1-on-4. We are extremely confident in the other guys to make open shots. They have to shoot those shots, commit to them, and then that makes things easier for Nikola. I thought the Sacramento game was the greatest example of that. The numbers weren't what they were, but by the end they were, and that's what you want. You want the game to gradually come to him, let him read the game, and we can react from there. And that, honestly, on both ends, we have to do things the right way where he's not always coming up in pick and roll. Can we cross match him? Can we send somebody else up? Just assign someone else to go up with the pick and rolls. Things like that where it's not so many steps on both ends, if that makes sense. So, yeah, it's part of your job to protect him. And then I think it's also part of his job to trust his teammates, which he's done an unbelievable job of. It's not just the assist numbers, it's the open shots created. And in the playoffs, you can live and die with wide open shots. You have to. That's the way this thing works. I brought this up before. Some of the greatest teams of all time, you're going to remember their star players, but I know watching my father lose to the Lakers, you can talk about Kobe and Shaq all you want. It was Derek Fisher, Rick Fox, and Robert Ory. Those guys made shots. That's why it loosened the game up for Kobe and Shaq. So you need that. You need that from your team, and I have great confidence in these guys that they can do it.
Is that a conversation, though, that you had with Nikola beginning and maybe even throughout, just saying, hey, I think this is best, taking the ball out a little bit of your hands?
Yeah, we talked about, just because he's so big on just shoot it, just shoot it, just shoot it. And I think the guys have to give him the feeling that I want it. Like, throw me the ball and shoot it confidently. But the other part of that is there's trends. And we're seeing more of this basically triple team wherever he is. And more teams are watching other teams that have done that, and they're trying to implement it. Now, do they have the roster to do it, like we saw some of these other teams do? I don't know. We'll see when we get out there. But, yeah, it's one thing trust, it's one thing conversation, and a whole other thing, you have to react to what other teams do schematically.
Yeah, yesterday you talked about connectivity a little bit.
Yep.
How much of that do you have to continue to drill home? Because it feels like they're talking more just over those 3 games. Re-emphasize, or you just rely on it to happen because it's so important there, dialogue to the connectivity, at least on defense?
Yeah, and it's continued through these practices, and it's really important because you're going to be in really tough moments, and we can't call timeout and powwow every time something doesn't go our way. And today was really good. We had a scout team out there. We were a little sloppy, turned the ball over, which was a good thing for us because we're going into a tough game we haven't played in a while. And to see the guys talk, communicate, be okay with someone saying, you got to get to your spot quicker, we got to space better than that. And then on the defensive end, doing different things we may show in the series, it not going well all the time. And then guys really getting on each other about, got to be more attentive to what we're doing, be there earlier for me. That stuff is good because you can't, you don't want to go into these huge games where anxiety is so high and now you're having that conversation. You know, you have to get ahead of conversations like that, and if we can do that and be consistent with it, it obviously helps the process.
Starters are obviously going to play more, but how comfortable do you feel right now in terms of how far you can go into your bench? How much do you see that as kind of a game-by-game thing with certain minutes?
I think it's game by game. I also think what we found out over the years is how the schedule breaks down matters, and you're going to get that. Those first 2 games feels like a marathon, and then you do get the 2 days. And that does make you reassess. And obviously you're talking to the medical staff about where guys are at. It's not a time to be stupid. But the good thing is I see a lot of confidence with the players we have coming off our bench throughout this whole week. And now they have a little bit of experience underneath their belt. Obviously Jalen does not. But Jalen got to play in some big games. And I mean this, the Sacramento game felt like a playoff game. And he seemed very comfortable in it. And his shot's been falling this week. And so you have to rely on those guys. And you guys all know this, how the playoffs are. It may only be for 4 minutes. It may be a 4-minute run. So give me everything you got for 4 minutes. Be as clean as you can be as confident as you can be. When you're open, shoot the ball. Test yourself defensively. Live on that side of aggression. And it's okay, because fail or succeed, somebody else is coming back in. So give it everything you have with the minutes that you're going to get. And if we can do that, I think that'll help us succeed.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.